I thought it went really good. When you talk about doing everything off of Zoom, and then having the guys go out there and be full tilt,
Yeah.
I thought it went really, really good.
Coach, for your first practice, obviously you got to see a lot of different things in really quick fashion. How do you feel like some of your schemes, both offensive and defensively, are coming together just in these first few moments of practice?
Yeah, that's the thing. You had zero spring ball, and then you went from that to zero in person meetings, and then into the summer access where everything was so scattered. We were in groups of 16 because that's the most that our weight room can handle. So everything we did was in groups of 16, and guys were divided by teams, not by position group, trying to get guys to stay away from everybody so we didn't wipe out, one whole group if you had a positive test and then contact tracing. So, you had all that stuff up where everything is so scattered and so not in person and all that kind of stuff, for the first day actually going out there and doing something that actually looks like football. It was really good.
Coach, this is Neil Bradley. In terms of the conditioning, normally in a normal season, the players have the things they're supposed to do from a conditioning standpoint. There's never an issue with access to facilities. That has kind of changed this season. Considering that, conditioning-wise, how is your team at this point?
Oh, we're a long ways off. That's the scary thing about, having as many days as you had off. You can, we had a 6-week workout program, that we sent the kids, but, you're talking about a lot of guys that were, in places where, COVID was really bad and people had their weight rooms and stuff, shut down and they didn't have, any access. And so you got a lot of guys that have, no fault of their own, really didn't have a way to, condition. And then it kind of opened up a little bit and we had the volunteer stuff here and had a few guys, here in town. And then guys were able to start to get out a little bit, but nothing like, where it's mandatory and you're doing stuff. I thought Coach Clay did a really good job when we were in the summer access phase of making sure we didn't go too fast, with the guys. And he tried to make it where we were doing things that were football, simulated, but making sure we were doing it at a pace that our guys were going to at least have a chance to have a base before we got to this point.
Also, to this point, is everyone available that you believe will be available? Is there anyone that's going to miss time because of injuries that you know of at this point?
Yeah, we got guys down, right now. I don't know, because all the HIPAA laws and all that kind of stuff, what I can say about, who's down and why they're down. But we're not at full force yet, but we got a good portion of them.
Following up on Neil's earlier question, what's the plan as far as ramping up, and how long do you think it'll take before you guys are going 100% at practice?
You're talking about based on the guys that are out still?
No. I'm talking about based on the conditioning of the guys.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's a movement from where you're doing, a little bit of running and a little bit of lifting to where you're doing football movements. And you're making sure that you're being very cautious of how long that is and how much of a break, and then the recovery phase of it too. How much then are you doing recovery type things with them, when they're done. So, it's going to be incremental and it's going to be slow because we want to make sure that we, get them to the starting gate.
Coach Ed Marlowe, you had, 6 gentlemen make the Phil Steele teams. You had 3 make the preseason All-OVC. Where in your assessment, however, they're in the early stages of what was supposed to be spring football and now, where do you think your roster stands as far as talent is concerned, and who do you expect to be some of your leaders on both sides of the football this year?
No clue. Was walking around today, writing down jersey numbers and trying to figure out who was who. I mean, we literally, basically went from guys lifting weights and running around cones to COVID. And then it's, now we're back together and trying to figure guys out. I mean, we signed a whole class of guys not really knowing what we have, on our team. We obviously watched the film and but you didn't see all the guys, and you're getting here and putting in a new scheme and getting guys in different spots and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be a long process before we're able to even come close to assessing that.
I know we talked about this a little bit before when me and you had a conversation, but as far as installing your schemes, I know AK said that they got a chance to run a little bit of the defense today. What were your first assessments on them actually running what you want to see ran?
I thought that that the coaches did a great job, preparing them with with all the stuff with Zoom and all that stuff where you really were hands off, because the guys did a nice job with the calls and communicating and having a sense of urgency with the calls, defensively and offensively. They look good as well, for a first day, all things considered.
Coach, I'm sure you're aware. I don't know, maybe you're a viewer or not of the famous Last Chance U, but I had to go ahead and ask. I know he's in town right now, but how does your staff come away with a guy like New, who is a star or was a star for Laney College and now is a part of your program coming in this week?
Well, our guys have done a great job, during the whole COVID thing, of still not only, recruiting for that 21 class, but still recruiting for our 2020 class. And I think COVID, really stressed out a lot of people and changed plans of a lot of people, and we had some guys, leave the team during that segment. So we were constantly on the lookout, calling all of our contacts, anybody we knew in the profession, looking at the portal as the landscape, changed, like with Urbana College, closing down, and then Florida Tech dropping football, those types of things. Anytime we saw anything like that happen, our guys did a great job of getting right away on point and obviously following through with the compliance part of it, but exactly what can we do and how fast can we do it with trying to secure, other talent, for our football team. So that's just a hats off to the assistant coaches of always having a recruiting mindset. And that's what you really got to be in this day and age is you got to be a recruiter that coaches football. You can't be a football coach that recruits in order to secure some good players.
Coach, also, what did I know most everyone's had some sort of issues with COVID in terms of just sort of dealing with the repercussions from what it's brought on. From a mental standpoint for your team, are you able to meet with them collectively, or is that something that you kind of break off into assistant coaches because they probably maybe need mentoring, maybe more now than usual? What has been your take on that so far?
Well, early on, that was probably maybe one of the only positive things of the whole COVID thing and everybody being in their own home was the fact that I got to spend more one-on-one time that was on the phone with our players than I ever would have if we'd had spring practice. If we'd had spring practice, I would have been, busy with spring ball and maybe only met with somebody one-on-one if there was an issue with something. But I literally, throughout the whole COVID thing, just, went through the roster and talked to our guys. And then once I got through the roster, started over again, however many days that took. So I got a lot of one-on-one time, talking to our guys. And then, it is correct that it had to be, more segmented. All the normal things that you would do and say, to the team, all during the COVID thing, we were having Zoom coaching meetings and talking about the things that we needed to get across to our players. And it was all done on the positional level just because it's a whole lot easier, do a Zoom with, 14 running backs and tight ends than it is to try to get a whole team together and have a meeting. So everything was segmented. And then now that we're here together, we're trying to find opportunities to meet as a team, but that's hard just because of facilities. Over here, the largest facility that we have that we can use is 50 guys, as far as the square footage. So, we had a team meeting last night, just talking about agenda and everything. And that was, we did that in the CFSB, where we could space them out. We had one early at the beginning of the summer access, but we had good weather and had them spaced out in the stadium, so it was a difficult, deal. So But then obviously, after practice, got a chance to pull them up and keep space out there on the football field and talk to them. So, it's hopefully we can stay healthy and that part of it can get better and get to more like normal.
One other question I had was on the schedule. I know it's kind of in flux right now. Is that something you just don't worry about because it's not really something that you can control and it'll sort of work itself out probably in the next week or so?
Yeah, you just got to take one day at a time. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's the only approach that you can possibly take is, be one play at a time and, keep a bend in your ankles and bend at your knees, bend at the waist, have a good wide base and be ready to adjust on the move, because that's just the reality of where we're at right now.
Coach, is there a sense of excitement, urgency, frustration? You've already talked about how, you're still trying to assess the type of roster you have and where it's all going to fit. But is there I don't know, what emotion is there in knowing that the depth chart is clearly nowhere close to being settled at this point?
You talking about with the coaches or the players?
With the players, just how do the coaches feel about, is this next month, does it come with trepidation or excitement even that the depth chart's going to take a bit to fill out?
Yeah, I mean, I think the kids realize that. They realize that we need time to evaluate, and they've done a great job of not worrying about when we call first group out and second group out that might not mean the first team and the second team. It's just, where we have guys, currently. And that's how we split them up summer access. We had team 1, 2, and 3 on both offense and defense. We had 6 teams, and, we told them it's not necessarily the first team, the second team, and the third team. It was a mix just of guys playing offensive tackle and wide receiver and running back and tight end, all that. So I think the guys have done a good job of not getting too caught up in where they are right now and just realizing that we need reps out of everybody. If you ever needed a large roster and a lot of guys knowing a number of different positions, this is the time, so they've not got caught up in who's where. I think they're just interested in, working and figuring out the scheme offensively, defensively, and special teams.
My last question is for your casual Murray State fans, why should they be excited about football this year?
Because they don't know if they're going to have it. So I'd say you better be excited if we have it, because we spent all this time wondering if we were gonna, and we're still in that mode. It's an excitement with a little bit of apprehension, as far as a lot of people, I think, because you're excited it's getting started, but you're apprehensive about what's going to happen across the scope of college football.